This future author received some artwork and they're really suspicious about the way it looks like, so they took it to Threads to go get a final opinion. So let's delve into this, and again, don't send hate to any parties involved. Also, I know I look like I'm trying to go for like an Elsa look. I know it's summertime in LA, but forgive a girl for wanting a little wintry makeup look. So this kicks off with this post by user Caro gets booked on Threads, and they write, "All right, friends." Like thread friends? I've never had to read this out loud. "I got character art that I suspect is AI. Can you guys take a look? Sketches initially received were watermarked, and I didn't think anything of it until I started working with a real artist. At that point, I already sent my money and received the final product. I just got another message from them on Instagram about PayPal flagging their account and me needing to instigate a chargeback and send funds another way. Initiate chargeback? Sure. Send it again? Sounds sketch." Even before looking at the artwork, the whole chargeback situation already sounds super duper sketchy because, yes, can there be fringe cases where unfortunately an artist gets locked out of their PayPal or an unfortunate misunderstanding happens and they can't access their money? That happens. But from a client perspective, if they ask you to falsify a chargeback and send money to a different account, it is extremely super duper almost 100% likely that you're gonna get scammed because that is going against PayPal's TOS to falsify chargebacks. And there was a different story that I covered on my channel a while back where there was an artist who was prolifically doing this and asking a lot of people to falsify chargebacks under the excuse that their PayPal actually belonged to somebody else and that they got locked out of the PayPal because it was like the ex taking the PayPal and that they wanted people to send money to this different account. What's going to happen is if you falsify a chargeback and then you get the money back and then you send it to a different account, because you went against PayPal's TOS, you literally have zero protection for all of this roundabout method. But beyond that, let's delve into the artwork because there is both a sketch and a final product, and it's not looking great. So this is the sketch that was sent to the author, and it is extremely heavily watermarked, so just take it with a grain of salt. And also, another disclaimer, we obviously only have one artwork from this artist to look at, so a lot of times when it comes to determining is it Gen AI, is it real, right? You want to look at more than just one art piece, but we only have one art piece to go off of, so we're going to take a closer look and just take note of that. Looking at the art piece in question, there are already so many things that I see that is raising warning bells in my head. And this is just beyond like the art style looks like AI, but really asking the question like, would a human draw this? This isn't a sketch. This is like the full line art that is done, which is totally chill and fine. But there are inconsistencies in the art piece that, like, again, human error is a real thing. But then when you think about the final picture of what is happening, things aren't really adding up. If we look at the anatomy of the woman, there's already some odd things happening because she's kind of like grabbing his arm with her arms and putting her head on it. This would be where the shoulder is, but this is where the arm actually is. So she's gonna have like, if we're drawing where her arm is, she's gonna have a super long arm like this, and then this is where we see the forearm. We don't see the other hand. The other hand also doesn't make sense because her hand like sticks straight into where his upper arm would be. Like the arm anatomy here is already odd. If we look at this hand, we have thumb, finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, and finger 4. What's happening with the second finger? Not sure what's happening there. And then you look at his hands. He has fingernails on one hand and not on the other finger. Now, again, some artists choose to draw fingernails, some artists don't. Just because an artist chooses one or the other doesn't mean anything. It's just personal preference. But you won't find an artist really who draws fingernails on one hand and just doesn't do it on the other. That just doesn't make sense. Again, human error is a big thing, but like in the exact same piece, left hand, right hand, and the hands are right next to each other and you just didn't draw it. Weird. What is this? There is something with a belt in her lap. It's not her clothing because this is actually where the waistline of the dress is. Is this like a purse that's sitting in her lap with a belt on it? It's just so awkwardly placed. Maybe there's a lore reason in the book that that's the case, but I feel like typically if you have a bag, you know, you'd like, I don't know, leave the bag on the side of her or something like that. Sorry, I'm drawing with my mouse. And then if you look at the details of the rocks, the grass, the ground, things are also looking really odd. We have a rock that just connects into something else. So the rock is not actually in a closed line. And again, everybody has their own art style, but the style of this type of line art is that everything is lined, right? All the rocks here are perfectly enclosed, But for some reason, this one isn't. Even the twigs, there's like twigs that just like have gaps that don't end. And then we have more odd detailings in the tree. This is that part of like the spirals of the tree. And then we have leaves that are like clumped into something else, more leaves that are not quite leaves going on here. And the fire looks kind of interesting. Some of the other aspects I mentioned could just be a design choice, but looking at all the details, especially the super chopped anatomy of the arm, and also not to mention the fact that like this forearm is also really, really, really long. Like the elbow would be all the way down here. I'm not saying you can have bad anatomy, you know, the anatomy is difficult for everyone. But the anatomy for everything else is actually pretty spot on, you know, like the torso, the sitting position, the length of the guy's arms. It's just her arms that are completely chopped. But let's take a look at the fully rendered image. So this is the drawing fully rendered. And when you take a look at it, again, there's just things that don't make sense. Not to mention, again, the anatomy of the woman is just completely off for the length of the forearms again. But that purse thing in the lap, it's not a purse because it was drawn as if it was part of her skirt. But there's just a belt from her hip to her mid crotch and just nowhere else, which is odd. And then remember that thing on the tree that I highlighted? What is this? This is not the spiral of the tree. This looks like there's like a handlebar of some sort that's jammed into the tree, which is odd. And then you look at the fire and the log behavior in the fire is just weird. They're all just looking really, really odd. And there's no fingernails on this other hand. So what are your thoughts? Do you think it's an AI generated sketch and final product? Do you think it's legit? But this to me, not bringing full confidence that it was completely handmade here. And so people in the comments aren't really buying it. People are saying that's not a sketch, that's a line art. And if that's the first thing they showed you, that's suspicious in itself. And OP says it was. And that I agree. In terms of like commission processes and behaviors, it's not great to immediately send only the line art. You typically would send a sketch, a rough sketch, right? So then the author can take a look at it and be like, oh, I like this, I don't like this. Can you make her hair longer? Can you move the hand, etc.? A line art is a lot more effort than just a basic sketch. So by sending a full line art, you're basically already like putting in a lot of work to the way the piece looks like without the client having really any input in how it looks like up to that point. Unless it's like a surprise me or something, which then it would make sense that you would send a fully rendered product. That is what they're paying for. In a typical commission like this, it doesn't quite make sense. And other people in the comments are showing examples of their sketches to show poses and stuff like that. Because yeah, again, right? You want to make sure the client has feedback at every step of the way. Or there's a saying that my dad always likes to say, you know, measure twice, cut once. When you already send the fully done line art as the first thing, what if the author has a lot of things they want to change with the art piece? Well, now it's going to be a lot more work for you to change it because you already drew the line art. Other people are highlighting elements of the artwork that looks weird, like the belt on the skirt. And then again, the random debris on the floor that when you look closely, like what was the artist trying to draw? Maybe this is a twig, but this is a twig that becomes some moss and then some other stuff. It just doesn't quite make sense. Other people were mentioning the lack of the fingernails and the fact that the proportions look quite off. And then, well, there is an update. So the author added update. Since PayPal had already flagged their account as a potential scam, I reported the transaction, provided photos, and a description of everything. Case was auto-approved, and I got my money back. But as you can see, they were instantly refunded $160, and it was instantly solved. That again is a bit concerning, right? Because it was an expensive commission, a $160 commission of 2 characters plus a fully rendered background. So from the artist's perspective, like you would want the client to be on board from stage one, you know, here's a sketch of the pose, here's a sketch of the background, here's a sketch of everything together. Okay, like at every step, let me know how you like it so that when I move on, you know, we're working together and you're gonna like the final product. Because otherwise, again, the chances of miscommunication and you having to go back and redo all the work again because the author wasn't happy due to the fact that you gave them an example so far along in the art process that the author didn't have a reasonable place to critique everything beforehand. So I'm really glad the author at least got their money back from this scam, and the fact that PayPal already flagged the account as suspicious is pretty funny to me. But there is just like another series of posts that I saw on Threads that I thought was really funny in the same line of like showing sketches to artists, and I thought this was so cute. This is a post from my user on Threads, writing what I sent my artist versus what I got back. I am obsessed. And the artist is Issa Jensi, if I'm reading that right. This is so funny. I love this. So they said what I sent my artist. So they sent a stick figure drawing of like a guy kind of like with like a stick, you know, holding kind of under her chin, and she's saying tension, and there's like they're like little cute little stick figures, and there's an like example photo from what looks like a movie or a show, and then here's what they got back. And oh my god, the way the artist was able to beautifully capture their stick figure drawing vision and turn it into this gorgeous piece. The art is so pretty. The vibe that is kept, it's like the same thing. And other people in the comments were showing their examples. Another person said, what I sent to the artist for the background versus what I got. So, like, this was the line art they received from the artist, and what they wanted for the background. This is what they sent. It's a whole bunch of scribbles, and you can see some trees and some lights. And the artist took that and beautifully captured their vision into this as the final piece. Holy crap, this looks so freaking good. And the funny part, too, is like, you can literally see what the author was looking for in like the characters together in the back. They want some trees, the dark wood floor. And yeah, they got that. Exactly that, actually. But yeah, at the end of the day, what are your thoughts about the final piece? AI, not AI, but PayPal. PayPal had their own statements, so would love to hear your thoughts with respect in the comment section down below. And with that, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Don't forget to check me out on Etsy. I have digital art there for streamers and creators like emotes and overlays, frog emotes. I also have a coffee with free resources like a free sponsorship guide, and I stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays and Saturdays at 6 p.m., Thursdays at 7:30. So I hope to catch y'all there or in another one of my videos. Peace.